While I was in critical care, my boyfriend named our daughter after his ex, and then posted on Instagram calling me petty and immature for caring about Umbritial, just a name. It had been 3 years since I married Anthony Bartlett. After a difficult labor that lasted a whole day and night, I finally gave birth to our daughter. But when Anthony took the baby from the nurse, he named her Donna Bartlett. I stiffened on the delivery bed. I knew that Anthony's ex-girlfriend was named Barbara Dorsey. During my postpartum recovery, I received a video. In it, a drunk Anthony complained to his ex about my body, about how I had changed, and about the unpleasant smell of breast milk. He said that while he married me, his heart would always belong to her. I looked at my daughter's peaceful sleeping face in her swaddling blanket, and Anthony had no idea that this time I was done. I didn't want him or his love anymore. Sheesh Shanti, it was the 15th day after I gave birth. Anthony hadn't come back once. It all started when I fought desperately on the delivery bed to stop Anthony from naming our daughter Manan. He looked at me in disappointment and said, "It is just a name. Why are you making such a big deal out of it?" But I couldn't accept it. Why should I? Why did Anthony think he could name our daughter after the woman he still longed for? Even though I nearly bled to death on that bed because of the stress, Anthony still went ahead and registered our daughter under the name Bartlett. While I was being rushed into ICU for emergency care, I was left alone at home holding our daughter in her swaddling blanket. Barbara had once said that postpartum recovery wasn't as bad as people made it out to be. Her friend had managed just fine looking after her own child on her own, so Anthony thought it was fine to refuse to hire a postpartum nurse for me. "Nina, my Nina," I whispered softly, calling my daughter by the nickname I had chosen for her. I tried to feed her, but because of everything that had happened, I had no milk left. Nina cried loudly from hunger. At that moment, I couldn't hold back any longer and broke down crying along with her. Anthony and I had met when we were both volunteering at an orphanage. From the moment he saw me, he started pursuing me, but no matter how kind he was, I never felt anything for him. It wasn't until the time when I was harassed by some thugs because of work and Anthony risked his life to protect me that I slowly started to accept him. I was an orphan. Anthony made me feel what it was like to be loved and cared for. He told me he loved my kindness the most. But after we married, I realized that the reason Anthony had pursued me wasn't because of who I was. It was because my eyes looked really like Barbara's. How laughable. Both I and our daughter had become tools for Anthony to miss Barbara. Anthony and Barbara had been college sweethearts. But when they were about to get married, Barbara left him to pursue opportunities abroad. To my surprise, not only did Anthony not hate her, but he continued to cherish her as his true love, the perfect love he could never forget. I heard footsteps at the door, and the door opened. It was Anthony coming back. I was about to call out for help when my arms, sore from holding Nina day and night for the past 2 weeks, finally gave in. My body ached all over and my eyes were red from exhaustion. I was barely holding it together. "Anthony, Nina," Anthony frowned. "What, Nina? I told you already, her name is Inin Bartlett. I really don't get it. Why are you so petty over a name? Look at this place. It's a mess." And Amun's crying. "Don't you know how to take care of her?" My eyes filled with tears. I wanted to argue with him, but I had barely eaten anything nutritious in days, and I was completely drained. "I don't have milk. Could you please make some soup for me?" I weakly pleaded. Anthony's parents had never cared about me because I was an orphan, and since I had only given birth to a daughter, they never even bothered to visit. They hadn't come to see Nina once. I thought that by asking Anthony for help, he would remember his responsibilities as a father and stay to take care of our child.